Hi guys, and welcome to lesson 7 in this fourth module. Now in this lesson, we're going to be covering exclusions. And with exclusions, you can specifically exclude groups of people from your targeting. So you can say to Facebook, look, I really want you to advertise to these people, but specifically not this group. Okay, so let's have a look at what that looks like in effect. So if we go to the ad set level and we click edit, there's basically two types of exclusions, or two main types of exclusions you can use, right? By the way, don't worry about these warnings. We've already covered that in previous modules, and any of that sort of stuff will be covered in the sales funnel put together modules later on. Anything we haven't covered that you need. Anyway, so let's say, for example, we wanted to target all website visitors. So we've got all website visitors, and then let's say we also have an email list. Okay. I've got a whole bunch in there. There we go. Example email list. So let's say that was our warm audience ad set. And I said this will make more sense later on when we put the sales funnels together. But let's say this is our warm audience ad set and we're advertising to these people. One of the things you could do, for example, is you can click on this exclude button here. And then you can see, look, we're custom audiences. Include people who are in at least one of the following. So include people who are either in this audience or both. And then exclude people who are in at least one of the following. So what people would often do, for example, is exclude purchases. So we've got the same warnings as we had, because any website-based custom audience at the moment is going to have these iOS 14.5 warnings. They'll certainly go away at some point. So what we're saying to Facebook in this scenario is, please advertise to all website visitors, advertise to people who are subscribed to our email list, but please exclude anyone that, in this case, has triggered the purchase event within the last 180 days. So you're effectively excluding purchases. You could also add in the customer list in here. So you're saying, look, I want you to advertise to people who visit my website, people who are on my email list, but not people that have already bought from me. Now you can understand why people would want to do this sort of thing. They think, what's the point in advertising to people that already bought from me? They know about my business. They've had that interaction. If they want to buy again, they'll just come straight to the website. That's a waste of money. And I think that's not really true. I think that's almost a little bit arrogant from the business owner to think that because someone's bought from them, their business is in that person's consciousness. Not really. There's a reason why brands that you know advertise all the time. You need to stay top of mind. There are tons of businesses that I've bought from that I will go months, if not years, without thinking about. And it may be an ad that prompts the memory. Oh yeah, we went to that restaurant, or we bought from that business, and oh, I need a new one of those. We went and stayed in that hotel. All these things that you may have done a long time ago or bought a long time ago that you go, yeah, I do need to get another one of those. I'll go on their website and have a look. But you need the trigger. So I think that not excluding purchases, and actually I like specifically targeting purchases, for reasons I've already mentioned, is much better. If you don't want to specifically target them because you feel like that's a waste, yeah, I disagree, but that's not the end of the world. But definitely don't exclude them. Definitely don't exclude them. Even if you offer a product or service that is a one-time purchase, putting your ads in front of people that have already bought it, in the knowledge that that triggers their memory of the product or service, and they makes it much more likely that they're going to recommend it to a friend. It also helps you build social proof. If you put an ad in front of someone for a product they've bought that they liked, there's a really good chance that some people will leave comments like, fantastic product, would strongly recommend. For anyone that advertises a business, is advertising on Facebook for a business that has multiple product or service offerings, or an element that is consumable, people buy it again, anything like that, absolutely you want to be advertising to your purchasers. And I think the downside, what people are worried about here is they're worried about wasting money advertising to people that have already bought them before. That's why they go ahead and add in exclusions. But realistically, unless you've generated an enormous amount of purchasers, you're only going to be spending a tiny proportion of your budget on those people anyway. The upsides, I think, are significant. The potential downsides are very small. So go ahead and don't do it. Please don't exclude previous purchasers from your ad sets, particularly in your warm audience ad set. There are always exceptions to what I've just said. If, for example, you're running a special promotion for a product with a discounted price for a few days, and you want to exclude people that have bought it at the higher price, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because they might be a little bit, even though sales are things that happen all the time and everyone's very familiar with them, they might be a little bit annoyed. Okay, fine. But for the most part, your default should not be to include exclusions. Okay, so I'm going to remove these out and show you the other area where people do exclusions. And by the way, we had warm audience ad sets in here. People would also do it, for example, with, what did we have for previous example? We were talking about shoes, weren't we? What did we come up with? Was it bespoke shoes when we did the cold audience targeting option, I believe? And that may have been too small. But never mind. Now, let's say we've got our interest targeting option in there. People will also exclude previous purchases. And again, it's not something I would recommend. Facebook's going to know, depending on who they can track, who has purchased. They are going to advertise to people who have purchased and advertise to people that haven't purchased. If the people that have already purchased are unlikely to purchase again, Facebook's not going to waste money advertising to them. And out of your cold audience targeting options, you've got a monstrous amount of people. Like, your purchases are only going to represent a tiny proportion of your total audience when you're including cold audience targeting options. So the vast majority of the budget is going to go on the cold audience targeting options. So you don't need to do it there, okay? So that's another option. And then we've got these exclusions down here. So you've got here where we've got bespoke shoes, for example, and we can add in exclusions. And one of the things that people often do is, remember I already mentioned when we found the cold audience targeting options, is that you might have, let's say, 3 options that you want to test. So let's say we've got bespoke shoes and we've got dress shoe. I think they were too small, but just for demonstration purposes. And so we've got bespoke shoes and we've got dress shoe. And what people will do is they'll go, okay, I'll have one ad set of bespoke shoe. And then what I'll do is I'll exclude, you click that exclude button, you say exclude people who match dress shoe. And that means that I've only got the people that are interested in bespoke shoe. I've excluded the people that are interested in dress shoe because the two will overlap significantly, okay? And then what they'll do is in the other ad set where you're targeting dress shoe, they'll exclude bespoke shoes. Now, if you sort of think about how that works, in each ad set, you've only got the people that are interested in one but not the other. So you're actually missing out on the people that are interested in both. It is definitely not something you want to do. The people that are interested in both might actually be your best target audience. If you think about like a Venn diagram, how the circles overlap, you're excluding the people that are both. So when it comes to cold audience targeting options, like interest targeting options, I definitely wouldn't have exclusions crossways like I just described, and I wouldn't have any exclusions at all. If you, let's say for example, were to run bespoke shoes here with no exclusions, and then in another ad set run dress shoe with bespoke shoes excluded, that might seem like a better option, but you've set up a very unfair test. You're testing bespoke shoes with no exclusions, but you're testing dress shoe with what might be 60% of the audience excluded. How are you actually going to work out which audience performs best, which enables you to optimize your campaigns and improve performance? So I think it's very important not to include exclusions for the most part. Again, there surely will be some exceptions where it'd be a good idea, but your default should not be to include exclusions at the detailed targeting stage, just like it shouldn't be at the custom audience stage. Okay. Now, as I said, there are exclusions, like if you're running a flash sale, you might want to exclude previous purchasers who've bought it at the full price. Okay, completely. That makes a lot of sense. No issue with that whatsoever. But your default should not be to include some exclusions. And any exclusions that I do feel are necessary as we go through, you know, either you go through the advanced strategies or as we go through the putting all this sales funnel stuff together in later modules, I will explicitly say and include. So hopefully that clears up a whole load of answers where you're going, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about that? If I don't mention it and don't specifically include it, no exclusions. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Right, in the next lesson, we're going to talk about local businesses because there are some targeting adjustments you really need to make if you are a local business. I'll see you there.